Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the team Calcutta Comparatists 1919, I take this privilege to warmly welcome you to the 57th session of this webinar series. Calcutta Comparatists 1919 is an independent forum for research scholars of humanities and social sciences. It carries the legacy of academic space for literary comparison between Indian languages initiated in 1919. It is a platform for sharing research interests and ideas. We are organizing online lectures on various interdisciplinary topics to be delivered by academicians and distinguished research scholars of different fields. Your remarkable skills will be a great addition to our team. We look forward to a mutually beneficial relationship with you. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have with us Dr. Naresh Kumar. Dr. Naresh Kumar is an assistant professor professor and former chairperson, Center for Diaspora Studies, Central University of Gujarat, Gandhinagar, India. He has been teaching research in the center since September 2011. He has studied BA Geography, BRAC, University of Delhi, MA, MPhil, PhD from CSRD, JNU, New Delhi. He is a member of the various academic administrative committees for advanced and scientific research, CUG, Center Board of Studies, CUG, Syllabus Designs Committee, MA MPhil in Center for Diaspora Studies. He has been convener of the three international conferences webinar supported by the various national and international agencies like ICSSR, New Delhi, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, Registrar General and Census Commissioner, India. He has collaborated five eminent university institutions of India for organizing international webinar on positioning migration studies to understand the short and long-term impact of COVID-19 pandemics held on September 10th, 11th, organized by the Center for Diaspora Studies, the Central University of Gujarat. He has published various research articles in national and international reputed journals. His research interests are internal and international migration, migration and development, Indian diaspora, social demography, population geography, and studies. Today, Dr. Kumar will be talking about the impact of COVID-19 on migration, a reference from India. I welcome you, Dr. Kumar, to our forum. Now, this virtual stage is yours, and you can begin your lecture, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jamina Nasreen, actually, and for inviting to deliver my talk on this platform. And I'm very happy to actually to engage this platform because this is a totally interdisciplinary in terms of various aspects in the social science and humanities. And my center itself is working on this actually using the interdisciplinary approach in the case of research in the form of like teaching and research on the various aspects of migration and diaspora studies in India as well as the other diasporic communities. And thank you all the members of this Calcutta Comparatists or 1919 for inviting me for this platform. And so shall I start now?
Sir, yes, sir. Please start.
And okay, so are you actually, am I visible now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
You are visible. You are visible. Our viewers can see you on YouTube live. You may kindly begin your lecture. Yes, sir.
So today, actually, I'm going to deliver my talk on these very important issues on this impact of COVID-19 on migration in reference from India. So my this whole talk actually divided into different segment. Different segment. So the first important segment of this my talk is this: what is the current global scenario of COVID-19 pandemic in the case of the world and specifically India's positions? And now I am also going to discuss about this how migration, especially this internal or international migration or diaspora, has become significant in the development process of India, and how actually has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, uh, whether it is international migration or internal migration. So I am going to actually try to identify the various important aspects related to COVID-19 pandemic in reference to migrant. And so, if look the current scenario as per the current statistics actually given by the WHO, World Health Organization, on the global perspective of COVID-19 cases in the world. So, as per the current status on 27th January 2021, so we look this global situation now. We have a more than 99 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 2 million deaths. If we look this geographical distribution of this region-wise geographical distribution among the different continents or countries, so like Americas with included the USA, Canada, or Mexico. So in that countries have more than 44 million COVID cases, confirmed COVID cases. And simultaneously, Europe more than 33 million cases, and South Africa more than 12 million cases, and Africa more than 2 million cases. And Western Pacific countries have a more than 1 million cases. So broadly, we can understand how this COVID-19 have impacted the various communities across the world. So this COVID-19 actually does not discriminate the people. Uh, so it has impacted all the groups of the population. And if you look the country-specific cases, in case of like USA is become a leading state in terms of number of confirmed cases, more than 25 million cases, and now India is second position in the world, more than 10 million of cases, confirmed cases uh, of COVID-19. India also stood the second position in the world as per the absolute number of cases. But main important thing is that now the various effort has been made by the governance or the or the civil society to actually curtail to mitigate this problem. So, according to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, this is the important nodal agencies which provide the statistics about the COVID-19 cases in India. So, so as per the current situation in January 2021, the total number of active cases we have near about 1,76,498. So this is the actually current COVID cases. It is actually 1.65%. And now most important thing is that mostly people has been recovered of this COVID-19. So they have been discharged. So the percentage of discharge is now near more than 96 point. It is now 96.9%. So this has been actually increased over a period of time. So and total that's 1,53,724, or it is almost 1.4%. So before actually before going to migration impact on the COVID-19 on migration, so briefly I am going to touch how migration is playing very crucial role for the development process of India. So, so migration and diaspora, whether it is internal or international migration, it's play a very crucial role for the development process of India. So as we look the historical context or even current scenario, so human mobility cannot be stopped, whether it is internal or international. If you look the historical context, human mobility always has been seen in the historical past, and has become an integral part of the human existence. Due to rapid economic growth, globalization, and information communication technologies in the era of 21st centuries, This mobility has increased in many folds, and it has greater impact in various levels, whether it is a social aspect, whether it is economic aspect, demographic, cultural, and political aspect in at the place of origin or place of destination countries, wherever these migrant communities move, play a very significant role to bring out the changes and at various levels. And it has become very important factor also in the labor market. The significance of the labor this migration has been also understood on the various international agencies like UNDESA, United Nations Division of Economic and Social Affairs. In 2006, the high-level dialogue, which actually emphasized the significance of the migration, particularly the international migration, and they have concluded that international migration is playing is playing could play an important role in national development, provided that it was supported by the right set of strategies and policies. In September, if you look the a convention held in UN in 2015, uh, so it also has been seen that how this sustainable development goal actually talk about this importance of this migration. So even this, if you look the agenda of sustainable development 2030, the significance also has been drawn to the migration, has been recognized in the case of internal or international migration to achieving the goal of sustainable development. Because why? Because the much positive emphasis has been seen in terms of to reduction of the poverty uh, of majority of the population. So we can understand how this migration are very crucial in the current scenario. And it is also important in terms of transfer of remittances, whether it is economic remittances or social remittances. So I will discuss further on this in detail. So now, if we talk about in the case of like COVID-19, so the spread of coronavirus has mainly started from the city of Wuhan in China, and it has actually spread all over the world through the human mobility or maybe other forms of other channels. Okay, so now uh, the first case of COVID-19 in India was traced on January 30, 2020. And after that, actually, outbreak of this COVID-19 lockdown has been actually entire country announced on 24th March 2020 for the period of 21 days. So after this lockdown announced, so there are so many changes has been seen, not only in the case of India, even almost other countries wherever this lockdown has been earlier announced. So so uh, so all the countries have taken the various actually appropriate measure as per their circumstances to restrict the international mobility or internal mobility. So India also has taken actually initiative to actually mitigate the various problem of this COVID-19. So border, almost all the international, national or international border were temporarily closed. Public transportation facility were also stopped. If you look this in the case of year 2020, especially after the January uh, to this February, March, or April, or up to the month of October. So almost very kind of actually sectors which is associated with the service sector or manufacturing sectors or the various subsectors like factories, soap, restaurant, and all types of economic activities were closed, excluding the certain goods and medical service, essential services. So COVID-19 actually, uh, this pandemic has impacted lots of this international or internal migration, or we can call them as a international migration. We also call them as a diaspora. So this has impacted a lot, but the impact of COVID-19 not as a homogeneous for the all groups of the migrants. So it has impacted disproportionately at the various categories of international migrant or internal migrant. So this actually the lockdown also actually creates uh, unexpected lockdown actually also create uh, the problems of the many actually migrant, those who are actually residing in the different countries, even within the countries. So especially the extended migrant become uh, face various problem. uh, they were stuck at the various actually countries, even within the within the state, across the states. So this instant, they faced various instant challenges or immediate challenges by the these migrant groups. So and they face the problem like that actually, supply of food, shelter, loss of wages, chances of getting infected, and anxiety at their whatever place they are residing at the destination areas. So it has been seen in the case of like internal migration as well as the international migration. So COVID-19 crisis actually made migrant issues more visible, which actually were earlier invisible. So now it is also important that who actually suffered most. So all actually for all forms of migration actually suffered lots due to COVID-19, but highly suffered more in case of like those who are the vulnerable group of this uh, categories of the worker, like mostly those who belong to the actually unskilled migrant, semi-skilled migrant, or illegal or undocumented or refugees in different settings. So this is not only in the case of situation in the India, even also in the in various countries. So every country have a actually different forms of migrant groups. So they have actually migrated different actually causes. So they have actually different kinds of actually problems also and prospect also. So now, especially if we look in the case of like many unskilled or semi-skilled migrant in the case of India, those actually engaging in the various informal activities. So we have actually large chunk of population of these informal activities, which is also known as the informal activities, especially the some of the jobs is also known as the 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and demeaning jobs, which is also essential for the society. But that job actually mainly occupied by the migrant groups. So mostly cities, if you look them mostly cities in India, so this job actually done by the migrant people, those who have migrated from the nearby states or maybe remotest area or deprived area or districts of various states. So uh, even in the case of international migration, the imposed of the uh, uh, the impose of the certain measures and this lockdown or the restriction of the travel restriction like on the COVID-19 related to COVID-19, some guidelines has been issued. So border almost has been actually closed or partial mobility has been allowed, and so it has affected lot in case of like international migrant across the globe. So India also has a large number of population who are residing, who are working in the different parts of the world. So millions of population has been actually stranded globally due to this COVID-19 and these various categories of workers, whether it is actually travelers or a student or this labor migrant. So they faced lots of problem at the place of destination. But initiatives are also taken by the coordination of this between home and host societies to actually to mitigate the issues of the migrant workers. Even those who actually belong to the semi-skilled groups or unskilled groups of the population in the host societies, because they have a very lack of social protection or social securities in the host societies as well as the in the host societies, particularly in the case of migrant, international migrant. So they face lots of problems. Okay. So now this is also important that here uh, this how this actually COVID-19 current COVID-19 crisis also shown that how this migrant workers actually playing very crucial role to providing certain services and goods actually uh, of the various cities or which is actually not possible by this local population. So they played very crucial role to sustaining the economy also. And I am actually going to talk about this how this international migration actually have a very important in case of like numbers or in case of in terms of like remittances transfer or other aspects. So as per the statistic given by the World Migration Report 2019, so nearly we have a almost 3.5% of the international migrant as per the as per this foreign born population, and this majority of the actually migrant, almost 96%, are residing in the countries which they were born. Okay. So almost 96.5% people are migrant as per or they are residing of the places which they were not born. And if you look in the case of India, so India has the largest diaspora in the world. As per the data given by the Ministries of External Affairs, so we have a more than 32 million of Indian diaspora. The main characteristics of the Indian diaspora, broadly, we have two categories. First is that person of Indian origins, those who have immigrated under the colonial system and mostly actually settled down at the place of destination. And they have also acquired the citizenship of the respective country. Now, second important category of this diaspora or is as a NRI, non-resident Indians. So actually, they hold in the Indian passport, but they are living in the different parts of the world. whether it is USA, UK, or Gulf countries or Southeast Asian countries. So, so, so that is important for the actually. In case of India, even both of the diaspora is very crucial for the development process of India. So, so they have almost this diaspora actually almost spread more than 206 countries in the world. So this actually diaspora, or we also call them as a diaspora or the international migrant. Different forms of international migrant are very crucial for the development process of India. Not only in terms of transfer of remittances, even also transfer of the ideas or knowledge or information, or making communication network between home and host countries, or making this or decision to make stronger relationship between the different countries. So, but here also is important that the data. See, actually, as per the report of the International Organization of Migration 2020, they have estimated that India holds largest number of Indian diaspora international migrant, 17.5 million. And this estimation actually based on the official national statistics time to time given to the UN agencies on the basis of foreign-born population. So, so this data become a very crucial and important in the case of migration research, and has very significant role. But we have actually some limitations of the data collections, or the variable or indicators or characteristics of the migrant. We have a very limited of the characteristics of the migrant. Uh, so, so India holds largest number of diaspora or international migrant in abroad, and the other countries have like Mexico 11.18 million or China 10.7 million. Actually, the earlier the Chinese was leading state in terms of diaspora, but India took a first position recently. So, so if you look this where this Indian migrant are going, or Indian immigrants are going to work in uh, different parts of the world. So mostly actually preferred destination of the Indian migrant is the United States. So, as per the statistics of the uh, uh, International Organization Migration Report 2020, it actually talk about, it says that in USA have a 15.7 million of international migrant. That is the most preferred destination for the actually of the not only Indians, even other communities or other diasporic groups. So these actually international migrant have a different actually forms. So like we can divide into as a skilled diaspora, skilled migrant, unskilled migrant, or semi-skilled migrant across different developed or developing countries, and they have spread almost all the countries. But some of the corridor are most important. Like if you talk about the skilled diaspora, the most skilled population are actually immigrated towards the European countries, or UK, and this UK, Germany, and Netherlands, or France, or or USA, even this Southeast Asian countries, even like Singapore, uh, Taiwan, and other parts of the world. But if you look the majority of the population in terms of Indian communities in abroad as a NRIs, so what you will find that statistics given by the Ministry of External Affairs, almost uh, these unskilled or semi-skilled workers, they are mainly actually engaging in the Gulf countries, six GCC Gulf countries or West Asian countries. So, so why this actually migrant to become a very important in terms of development process of India? So if you look this remittances, India has actually highest recipient country in the world in terms of receiving the remittances from abroad. So like uh, in India, in terms of current statistics given by the World Bank, so we have more than 78 billion US dollar from the abroad. So these remittances play a very crucial role, and specifically in the case of like those who are the actually temporary or semi-skilled or unskilled workers in the different setting, different countries. Their contribution is much more higher because the chances of transfer remittances is much more higher because mostly population are residing without their family members. They have left behind their family members at the place of origin, that is India, and they are working in the different destination countries like USA, like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Iran, Iraq. So this transfer of remittance is actually also determined with the types of migrant. Those who have settled in the different actually countries like developed countries, or so actually the chances of transfer remittances are low. So remittances is very crucial, but COVID-19 has impacted lots of these remittances because all the countries of the world have faced this crisis emerged due to the COVID-19. So economies, even the GDP also has been come down of the various countries. So so if you look the south-south migration, actually GCC become this uh, Gulf Cooperation Council of six GCC countries become one of the major corridor of the south-south migration, and India has been also one of the leading uh, countries which providing lots of labor supply to these countries. So this is also associated with the factors of the demographic imbalances. So India also has actually surplus of this. India has actually majority of the population belong to the economic age group. So even these six GCC countries, the demographic of these six GCC countries almost actually run by the non-national population, that is the migrant. So they are much more dependent on the migrant. If you look the actually statistics given by the respective host countries time to time, so almost more than 80% or near about 90% of their economies is running by the migrant. So it varies actually among the country also. So now we can understand this how these migrants are playing very crucial role at the host societies, or how this transfer of remittances by these migrant workers are very important in terms of bringing changes at the micro level or macro level in the development process of India. So that is important. Now, if we look this, uh, if we look in the case of like even this the forms of migration workers, the unskilled or semi-skilled, uh, the highest concentration of the GCC countries, the data actually given by this Ministry of External Affairs, near about we have a 8.5 million of Indian diasporic communities in these six GCC countries. So that is also become actually very crucial for the India because the transfer of the remittances are much more higher from these countries. And even the other countries also the remittances actually transferring, but actually but other forms of actually contribution made by the migrant worker or diasporic communities in terms of actually as a philanthropic contribution or as a like we can say networking between home and host or maybe bilateral relationship between home and host countries, that is also very crucial and important to understand the significance of the migrants. And here is also important in case of like uh, uh, remittances sent in countries. If we talk about in case of like uh, uh, remittances, so various countries have been changed their immigration policies to control the remittances. So, so this also impacted lots of the migrant workers. So now, if I will talk about in the case of COVID-19 how it has been impacted of the international migration or the contribution of the development process of India. So now actually we can understand after this COVID-19 pandemic. So there is a lots of actually measures have been taken by the respective host societies actually to restriction of the human mobility and in terms of like to actually stop the international stop this mobility of this air route through the air routes or close the actually international flight. So, that is also important between destination countries as well as the origin countries. So many actually international migrant, especially those belong to the like student categories or semi-skilled or skilled, become actually stranded in at the host societies. So even some of the migrants also belong to the like refugees or asylum seekers. They have actually largely impacted by this COVID-19 at the place of destination countries, and they actually this undocumented or illegal or refugees or unskilled, actually they are much more vulnerable at the host societies because they are actually less of social protection in terms of provided by the employers, and they have also actually chances lots of this like racism or risk of this detention, or even many population are hidden, especially those who belong to the illegal undocumented or asylum seekers, because it is very difficult during the COVID-19 to trace them and to provide certain incentives or maybe benefit. Even all the countries have this kind of actually problem in the world. But some of the developed countries have taken very appropriate measure to actually, with the helping of the technologies, but it has been seen due to this COVID-19 pandemic, even the developed countries, actually there are so many report cases has been reported of this actually in case of vulnerable group of refugees or illegal migration, or even the treatment of this during this handling the COVID cases. So that is also important. Even if you talk about this, uh, uh, so various migrant group has been actually stranded in the host societies. So initiative also taken by the government of the respective societies also, like Indian government also have taken initiative to actually to bring back of this different actually migrant group or stranded population at the different from the different countries. So initiative has been initiated by the from the government of India Vande Bharat mission. So it is also one of the actually initiative, and still it's continue. Now it's on the seventh phase. So more than 10 lakh people has been actually brought back from the different countries. So they belong to the actually different forms of the migrants. So those whoever actually register themselves with the help of actually ambassador at the host societies, and those who want to come back, they bring back. So near about 10 lakh people has been actually come back through the help of this Vande Bharat mission. And this is actually also known as the largest repatriation program run by the government of India. So as so near about 87% of the stranded Indian actually brought back by this Vande Bharat mission, those who have actually registered. So this is actually also known as the world's largest expedition exercise to bring back of the stranded Indians from foreign countries or foreign destinations. So that is here is also important. And now, if you look this remittances, as I talked about this, India is one of the actually leading state in terms of recipient remittances. So now here is also important who are actually transferring these remittances. As I told you that chances of much more higher from these actually migrant workers or those who are residing in the Gulf countries. Even so, so this remittances has been also come down due to this impact of COVID-19, because the industries were closed and the host societies, even import exports of certain goods and services, or GDP has been come down of the many of the countries, or slowdown of the many countries. So it has impacted lots. Even if you look at the data given, estimation given by the World Bank, so it said that global remittances almost actually reduced 20% or 20% in 2020. So now we can understand how this COVID-19 directly or indirectly impacted of the Indian workers abroad. So this economic crisis induced by the COVID-19 pandemic almost and shut down the many industries abroad also. So here also important of this remittances, because we don't have a actually hard data in case of remittances. In case of remittances, if we talk about the remittances, so even we don't have actually hard data about this of the migrant workers who are residing in different countries. We have absolute number of data of these Indian migrant workers in abroad, but in terms of various characteristics, various occupational categories, or in terms of like from where they have immigrated, or or in terms of tracing them, that is also actually difficult questions. And even this actually remittances, if we talk about this economic remittances, so what we actually noticed in case of economic remittances, it has been lots of change, not only in case of macro level, in case of also in the micro level. If we look at certain studies actually conducted by the different organizations in case of India, like Center for Development Studies, actually there have actually international migration unit. So they have exercise of the large number of the sample-based studies, longitudinal studies, or cross-sectional studies to see the impact of the remittances, especially economic impact of the remittances. So migrant household, non-migrant household, so there is a positive impact has been seen. There is no doubt they have a negative impact also in terms of like social cost of the migrant. But to understand the impact of the remittances at the ground level, we have a actually hardly we have a data. Even some of the exercise also carried out of different organizations like IIPS, International Institute of Population Studies, even Center for Diaspora Studies also carried out some of the sample-based studies in the year of 2012-13 on the basis of a small sample. We can find or draw a conclusion that migrant, actually, especially international migrant, play a very crucial role for the development process in the micro level. How we can understand the development process, that is also important. So we have seen that actually through this type of analysis that there is actually so many kinds of social economic changes have been seen in terms of migrant household compared to non-migrant household. Earlier, those actually the family members of the migrant or children, so those who were actually not going to getting education, now they start getting education, or even they actually paid the debt of the of through the this migration process or transfer of remittances. Even the actually vertical mobility also have been seen in case of international migrants. So there are various ways to understand the significance of the remittances. But here is also important in terms of like social remittances. Social remittances also actually we can know understand as a form of like transfer of idea, knowledge, information, or to develop the actually communication channels. So this actually term actually coined by the sociologist Peggy Levitt, which has emphasized that how the social remittances are very crucial simultaneously as the economic remittances. Because wherever this migrant go or went, they have actually established certain kind of or network, whether and also form of this association or communities abroad. And further has been seen in terms of like transfer of idea, knowledge, information of the various association through the various association or migrant associations or group association, whether it is a Gujarati diaspora, Bengali diaspora, Odia diaspora, or Malayali diaspora. So directly or indirectly, actually they are engaging with their own communities or overall to making the actually linkages between home and host societies. So even the impact has been seen to form of certain actually association related to certain specialized field like medical professionals or all this. So we can also see the impact of this idea knowledge, transfer of knowledge, idea information in terms of like uh, uh, in case of many states, especially these southern states, Bangalore, even this IIT or Silicon Valley. So this transfer idea is very important. And now the significance of the remittances actually also understood by this actually World Bank. So as I just given the example in case of India, so now if you look the statement given by the World Bank, I am quoting here the World Bank Group President Davis Malpass. Remittances are vital source for economic income for developing countries. This ongoing economic recession caused by COVID-19 is taking a severe toll on the ability to send money home and make it all the more vital that we shorten the time of to recovery for advanced economies. unquote. And I am also quoting one important actually quote here. The remittances help families afford food, healthcare, and basic needs. As the World Bank Group implements fast, broad action to actually support countries, we are working to keep remittances channel open and safeguard the poorest communities access to these most basic needs. So now we can understand how this remittances, especially the migrant remittances, has been playing very crucial role to bringing change of the Indian economy. This is not only in the case of India, even all the developing countries, wherever this migrant people went, they are actually transfer of the remittances. It depends on the characteristics of the migrants, so how they are engaging between home and host country. And so even if you look the actually estimated of UN given of this its report, this COVID-19 actually impacted lots. So it also impacted of this Indian economy. Uh, so near about US dollar 348 millions actually going to loss due to the outbreak of the COVID-19, and India actually took a position of the 15th worst affected economies across the world. Even the estimates also made by the Asian Development Bank to the severe impact of the outbreak of this COVID-19. So near about US dollar 29.9 million actually losses of to Indian economy. So so remittance is actually one of the significant part in case of the migrant, especially international migrant or internal migrant. But I will cover these internal migrants part in later section. So as if you look this actually remittances contribution, the contribution as I already discussed, and if you look the GDP in terms of share of GDP of these remittances, and if you look the data given by the actually World Bank, that majority of the countries which have actually smaller geographical area, or countries like we have actually African countries or South African countries, Lesotho, South Sudan, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Comoros and Senegal, and other countries which have actually small geographical area, the contribution of remittances is much more higher, more than 20% share of GDP or 20-25%. So it's varies across the countries also. So that is also important because India has actually, in case of India, it is estimated by the 3 or 4% of this actually remittances share of the total GDP. And now I'm going to talk about in case of COVID-19 impact of the internal migration. As I just give my argument that this COVID-19 make visible those who were the invisible before this pandemic. So before going to the impact, just I am briefing out this some important actually database given by the given by the respective agencies like Census of India, 2001, 2011. So according to the 2011 census, it was internal migration as per the place of last residence. We have a 450 million of internal migrants in India. It is almost share about 37.7% of the total population. 37.7% of the population. So now, am I audible now? Hello? Hello,
Yes,
hello,
sir, you are
Srikant.
audible. Yes,
Yes,
you are
sir.
audible.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, okay, then fine. If there is any problem, please let me know. Huh? Okay. So
Sure, sir.
now,
No problem.
yeah, okay. So now we can understand this the larger number of actually people belong to the internal migrants as per the data given by the Registrar General of India. And this is the data actually based on the 2011 census. Now it is almost 2011. So if actually data has been projected on the basis of the earlier census, so near about we have a 600 millions of the internal migrant population in the country as per the place of last residence. And the major contribution of this internal migrant are contributed by the interstate migrant or interdistrict migrant. So so that is also important. And internal migrants actually also we have a different forms of internal migrant. Majority of you have seen this rural to rural migrant or rural to urban migrant. Here is actually more important to understand the COVID-19 impact in case of urban to rural to urban migrant. So just a minute. Okay, fine. So so this is also important in case of interstate migrants, because actually in case of interstate migrant, what we look in the case of COVID-19, that majority of the population actually from the rural areas, they actually directly or taking the state migration, they have directly moved to the mega cities or metropolitan cities or big cities. So they so mostly of the major cities or metropolitan cities have a large chunk of the people of these internal migrant, those who have actually migrated due to the various factors at the place of origin, uh, at the place of origin. So this internal migrant actually very crucial, and the severe impact has been seen in case in the due to COVID-19 in case of internal migrant. And internal even all the cities have a different forms of migration, because internal migrants also depend when people have been actually migrated, how much time actually they have spent or at the society at the destination areas over a period of times. There is so many changes have been seen, because many of them actually accommodated, or it's also depend of the characteristics of the migrant. Because if we talk about in terms of Delhi, in case of Delhi, more than 93% of the people belong to the internal migrants. They have migrated from the other nearby states. So now every cities have a similar kind of characteristics. So and this actually this internal migrant become a backbone of running these cities. So these are the important parts of the this migrant or workers are the important part, or we can say the backbone of the many Indian cities or Indian economy. If look about the various kinds of occupation which, uh, which are available for the internal migrant, especially those who are the actually temporary or seasonal migrant across various cities in India. So in case of India, hardly we have a data about the seasonal temporary migrant across the different cities. So hardly this data actually we don't have. Some of the data or indirect estimation has been computed over a period of time with the help of NSSO data or on the basis of census data, but hardly we don't have a hard data of these internal migrants. So, and majority of the actually workers, those who are engaged in the informal activities at the different cities, near about 90% of the Indian economy is supported by the informal activities. And it has actually various categories of the occupations. And those who are actually highly engaging in the 3D job, dirty, dangerous, or demeaning jobs are mainly actually running by the migrant groups. So jobs like we have like we have Ritsa pooling, cycle Ritsa pooling, or like we have actually construction workers, like we have a job of these factory workers and shoe policing, or like street vendors. These are the part of informal sector. So why this migrant actually choose these cities to and engage in this kind of informal activities? All the migrants don't have a similar kind of actually stories. Many migrants do not possess this actually income or to run their business, and many of the migrants don't have a similar kind of characteristics in terms of literacy, in terms of literate, in terms of like social categories. So what you will notice that many of the actually cities, especially the lower standard jobs, are mainly actually known as the lower standard job, actually mainly controlled by the certain sets of the population. Those who have immigrated from the various underprivileged or underdeveloped areas of the countries or remotest areas of the countries in terms of like human development index or regional variation of the development, various level of regional variation of the development. So now, so we can understand this how these people become actually vulnerable, because even once they have moved in the different cities, because and they don't have actually social securities at the place of destination, and especially those who are the temporary or seasonal or the spend very less time in the host societies, host or destination areas. So we are example of Calcutta, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai. So various actually demand. We have a demand of this kind of workers, those who have directly or indirectly engaged in this kind of 3D jobs. So they become actually vulnerable in terms of various aspects, whether it is related to the living condition, whether it is related to the economic condition, whether it is related to the administrative condition, or whether it is related to the policy aspects. Uh, so so we can understand they become actually hardly become part of inclusion of this destination areas. This is COVID-19 pandemic, not only the case which has actually shown these vulnerabilities, but this vulnerability has been actually exposed due to the COVID-19 in case of many seasonal or temporary or this migrant. Like actually, I did my PhD. I'm just going to brief inform about the case of the cycle ritsa pullers in Delhi. If you that is also known as the tricycle ritsa pullers in Delhi. I did my PhD in 2011 in JNU and submitted that thesis on this migrant ritsa pullers in Delhi. The title was thesis by socioeconomic and demographic correlates of the migrant in cycle ritsa pullers in Delhi. So I have actually tried to understand in the year of 2000, 4 years work of this my PhD thesis how this kind of group, particularly this informal group or particularly this type of cyclid subpolar groups, have faced various kind of actually problem at the place of destination. Here I am why I am quoting this actually the Ritsapular, cyclid subpolar is a kind of occupation actually mainly mainly actually run by the these migrant groups in Delhi. But over a period of time, some changes has been occurred. Now we have actually battery operated Ritsapular in case of Delhi. But still we have actually this tricycle Ritsapular in case of Delhi, which actually still exists in the various segment of the various areas of the metropolitan cities of Delhi. So now, why actually? Sorry, am I visible? Hello,
Yes, sir, you are visible.
hello.
Sir,
Yes,
you
sir,
are
you are
visible.
audible and visible.
Okay, okay.
Okay, sir, please
So,
continue. Thank you, sir.
so actually, when I was doing this research on this various aspects of this circular in case of migrant workers, so what I have noticed, we did not find any data about this secondary data of this informal or particularly this type of occupation. So I did actually survey with the help of 450 sample I have taken from the various segments and various areas of the areas of the metropolitan city of Delhi. I have almost covered the entire part of the Delhi on the basis of sample. Even the policies actually implemented by the local government, that is also not reachable of the many migrant groups. Why that is actually not reachable of the many migrant groups, that is also important because the in case of the satellite circulars, actually they are mostly are the illiterate or highly they have actually educated up to the level of eighth standard, and they belong to the actually very marginalized groups of the Indian societies, and mostly of this type of occupation actually running by these underprivileged section of the societies and so we have a different social groups those who are actually uh, doing this kind of occupation, especially scheduled caste or other backward caste, even general caste people also. So majority of the people belong to the scheduled caste or other backward communities. Those who have actually immigrated from the areas of these like nearby districts of the Uttar Pradesh, and mostly of them actually migrated from the areas of the West Bengal, even Bihar, even Haryana also. So they were actually various factors because many don't have a actually agricultural land at the place of origin, and many don't have actually any kind of livelihood strategies at the place of origin. So they don't have actually any option to actually survive their family members. So mainly actually they prefer to go at the cities or especially these cities like Delhi, and 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 majority of them are the male selective migrants, and once they have spent the years of 3 4 years, they actually try to bring their family members, but hardly actually seen. Very few of them are living with their family members because actually the burden of remittances is much more higher in case of this type of actually occupational groups. When I meet and interacted with them, they have narrated their stories. They want to send maximum size of their income to their family members. Even they don't have actually formal channel of the transfer of remittances. They generally use by their friend circle, by transfer of these remittances. Even whenever they visit their home places, they actually come back with this actually whatever they have learned. And the income actually also, the size of income, annual income or monthly income also actually influenced by these certain factors like administrative factors also. So there are various actually stories we have this kind of vulnerable groups. So it is very difficult to tell within a few hours. Okay, so I had actually understand these types of vulnerabilities actually faced by these migrant groups, especially these underprivileged section of these occupational groups. So similar kind of stories also has been narrated by the different scholars in the different cities. So those cities have a similar kind of characteristics. Even almost all the cities have a similar kind of characteristics. So this is not a new phenomena of this vulnerability due to emerge of this COVID-19. And if you look the survey of if you look the survey of economic survey of 2016-17, so interstate population near about 60 million. And there is also here also important as I also important in terms of data actually given by this National Commission or Economic National Commission Employment of Unorganized Sector in 2007-8. So they have also actually reports that near about 92% of the Indian workforce with informal engaging in the informal kind of activities of the various cities. So now you can understand this. Hardly we have a less than 10% of the people are engaging of the various kind of formal activities, and the characteristics of the informal activities is that hardly they have actually provision of the social security stream. So we can understand how they face the different forms of vulnerabilities across the countries. So this incidence of the COVID-19 actually shows that how actually different metropolitan areas actually become is center of this showing the vulnerabilities by this COVID-19 pandemic due to this COVID-19. So we can understand even if we look this why actually they become suddenly actually face so many problems. Here is also important because due to the close of the certain industries, whether it is a tourism industries or the factories at the or the factories or the hotels or restaurant or even these closest of or in case of like stop of the transport activities. So this creates actually lots of actually traumatic condition of the migrant workers, especially those who actually seasonal, temporary, or engaging in the informal activities. So now actually they don't have any chance actually to survive at these destination areas across different cities. So different kinds of actually manufacturing or non-manufacturing areas actually temporarily closed so for the period of 3 months, 1 month or 3 months. So they actually don't find any solution or actually to sustain their livelihood at the areas of the destination countries, states or cities. So whatever actually the question of that is that who will be take care if somebody actually have a COVID-19 or become a positive of COVID-19, because nobody is going to take care of them. Why? Because actually majority of these actually, especially these actually vulnerable section of the seasonal or temporary or unskilled migrant, actually they live in the areas which are actually highly accommodated or shared single room with their family, with their actually co-partner or industrial workers, or maybe a single room shared by this co-partner or industrial workers, and they share actually common toilet, common kitchen or whatever, and hardly they have actually to maintain the social distance or physical distance in the areas whether they are working or whether they are living. So it's impacted lots, and hardly they have actually money to sustain at the place of destination, because whatever they have earned daily basis, they have to actually uh, 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 their survival actually depend on the daily basis of earning. So now we can understand actually many of the cases has been reported by the media that we have already seen due to the last pandemic in the last year, that many of them narrated that हमें तो अपने घर लौटना है, यहाँ रहने से अच्छा है हम अपने घर पे मर जाएं. वो will actually they have also narrated that यहाँ पर हमारी देखभाल कौन करेगा, इससे अच्छा है कि हम अपने घर जाके रहें, अपने परिवार के साथ रहें, और कम से कम वो तो कोई तो हमें पूछने वाला है. Even so, different kinds of narratives has been seen, and majority of the population actually have been seen that भूखे मरने से अच्छा है अपने घर पर जाकर मरे. So now you can understand the actually vulnerabilities actually faced by these migrant groups. So that is important to understand the impact of COVID-19, particularly in the case of internal migrants. And now actually, so suddenly they have start moving at the place of their origin. So they don't have any option at the cities. Actually, many of them start moving to place of origin wherever they are actually immigrated or out migrated. So whatever the mode of transportation channel, or if they have got it, they have taken support. If they have not got it, they have actually moved by walking. So they have actually covered millions, many kilometers or miles by barefoot journey, alone, or some of them or with their family members. So so this is not only characteristic of any particular cities. Majority of the characteristics, this kind of traumatic condition has been seen across the cities. So example like Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Delhi, and we have this example of in Mumbai, Ahmedabad, even like and even Chennai. So similar kind of traumatic condition has been faced by the this kind of workers. So immediate impact can be understood in the case of like internal migrant due to this COVID-19, because they don't have any kind of actually support. Government has taken various initiatives, but and the important thing is that how these initiatives have been actually approachable to the migrant communities. So media also have covered various cases. We have seen that how this actually many workers are moving with their family members or alone, or traveling hundreds of kilometers by walking to and going back their native places. So even some of the cases also have been reported because and many actually died during this journey. So and and also the actually initiative has been taken by the government by after some period of time to start some train with the actually find out some with the find out certain help of certain administrative support with the respective states or within the guidelines of COVID-19, there are also transferred by the money stranded workers across the different cities. So now we can understand how actually COVID-19 impacted this internal migrant, particularly this kind of migrant actually which were the more visible. So that is important. So now we can understand and how actually so this kind of vulnerabilities actually we can see in the case of internal migrants. So now I am going to talk about this role of governance. As I just initiated, also talk about this role of governments in case of ministries of overseas Indian affairs, that how actually they have this started to program or mission to bring back of many Indians from abroad. That is through the of this Vande Bharat mission, that is also important in the case of international migrants. And now another important aspect of this initiative also has been taken by the government of India, like Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that is actually also important to actually provide certain kinds of strategy mechanism, or like provide certain kinds of securities of this directly or indirectly also associated with the migrant workers who have returned back their place of origin. So some actually economic package has been announced near about 420 billion US dollar by the government of India to actually provide or make India more reliant or sufficient to in general or particularly how this migrant can be benefit or with this scheme. And that is also important. And now here there are other various in general program is also running by various states as well as the national level, which actually can provide some kind of securities or some kind of assurance of these workers who have returned back from their home, wherever they have belonged. So even finance ministers also announced certain packages near about 24 billion in the month of May, in the month of February, to plan or to make strategies to provide certain kinds of securities, food securities, those who will belong to the poor section of the societies, and those who actually directly or indirectly hit by the COVID-19 or closed by the industries. So cash transfer scheme also has been initiated by the central government. Even this state government also has taken initiative to mitigate this kind of problem. And also actually there is also a program running by the government of India, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. the wages has been actually increased some folds, near about become a daily wages 202 rupees, which was earlier at 182 rupees, due to the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic. Even some funds also has been taken, established, like PM Care Fund, to support to support of this, and to make a certain strategies to mitigate of COVID-19 impact. So now actually we can understand the initiative also taken by the central government and state government on various levels. That is also important. And now also we cannot ignore the importance of the civil society in case of this helping of this kind of actually workers. So we cannot ignore the importance of the role of the civil societies. Whatever actually they have made effort, their own level they did actually, and somehow they provide certain uh, uh, security to them to reach at the place of destination, at the place of actually origin. Now we have also seen in case of now if we talk about the recent scenario, the reverse migration also has been started. So many people also have been moving to move to the again to wherever they have actually returned back from the different cities. So now actually we can understand the how actually COVID-19 impact the various level of this migrant workers, whether it is internal or international or diaspora or expatriate. So I am going to conclude my presentation here. So basically, on the basis of this observation, I would like to say I say that COVID-19 actually impacted COVID-19 impact could be seen all forms of the migrant, but it has actually severely impacted the migrant belong to the semi-skilled, unskilled, or undocumented or illegal migrant groups across India, even other parts of the country. The significant impact actually, we can also cannot ignore the impact of the technologies, advancement of the technologies during this COVID-19 pandemic. These technologies play a very significant role actually to make a connection or to identify these or to trace the different forms of the migrant groups. Even government also make a certain portal to find out and to register themselves to to uh, to come back their place of origin. So different administrative support has been taken by this uh, uh, to identify these migrants with the help of technologies. So especially the social media or so this certain actually groups. So that has become very important, or portals become very important. And now, actually, we have already seen that how this COVID-19 impacted loads. So already, actually, there are various initiatives has been taken by the international level or international organization, and they have also actually designed certain policy framework. So now it is time to understand this how migrants are become very crucial, and what kind of strategy we can make to avoid this kind of problem in future. So like we have a global compact of migration. Uh, the objective of global compact of migration directly also associated with the internal or international migration or documentation of the migrant workers. Not only in case of actually in case of labor migrant, even all forms of the migrant workers. even destination areas. So what kind of strategies we need to make, that is also important within the perspective of the international framework. That is also important. So now it's also important these make a network which is also associated with the local, regional, and national or international level, because the migrant not only belong to the actually local level, even they have actually different forms of the migrant groups who have moved the different actually areas and crossed the international border. So this transition is very important. So network or connection is very important. So it may be actually associated with the different level. So on this word, actually, I would like to stop here. So if you have any question and comment, so you please may ask. Thank you very much. Am I visible?
Yes,
I'm-
yes, Professor. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Naresh Kumar. Thank you for this very illuminating lecture. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
We really enjoyed, sir. We got learned so much about COVID-19 migration, remittances, and many such topics. We have covered the basic areas of such topics. And sir, also today we have Professor Mohan Kant Gautam with us. If Professor Gautam wants to say something.
Yeah. Artrika, sorry, just I am unable to see you actually. Just wait.
Can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Yes, Professor Gautam, please go ahead.
First of all, I would like to say that Professor Naresh Kumar's deliberation was very, very important. He has covered many ideas, many aspects, and I think we will have to pay attention. Now, two things I would like to ask. Two questions are, when we talk about Indian diaspora and migrations, we have to have this NRI and PIOs. NRI are remitting the money to India. What about the PIOs remitting money to their own developing countries? Are there any statistics about that? That's one thing. Second question would be, those Indians who left many countries and come back to India, what has been the reaction of the host culture? Has there been some researches on the attitudes of those people? Did they really like it when the Indians left? Or did they also feel sad, but they could not do anything because of the government policies? And then there is another thing which I would like to say. Of course, the basic idea about this informal migrants, which Professor Kumar has said, it's very important. I think it's not only the rickshaw pullers, there are so many jobs which people are doing, which should also be taken into consideration and look at the migration, because remittance has been the part, that's why they migrated, and they wanted to help their families wherever they were living. So this is another thing, perhaps some researches could also be done here. And then regional migrations from Bengal, Assam, many places, they went within India. What has been the reaction of those local people of those states when they left these states where they were working for a long time as a permanent basis or temporary basis? These are my questions. Thank you very much. You have been very nice, and I have also learned a lot from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gautam. Naresh,
Can
sir, would like to
Yes.
answer them? Yes, sir. Please go
Yes.
ahead.
Thank you very much, Professor Rotam. Actually, you are actually expert of so many things. Actually, my knowledge is little less, so I am learning so many aspects from your side, and I also felt I also obliged because I learned so many things from you. And you have talked about this, sir, remittances, that is also important. But we don't have actually data, hard data in case of remittances. That is also become a very crucial question to see the actually impact of the remittances. We have an absolute number of remittances, like total remittances we have, but to see the impact of the remittances at the national level or across the states are very difficult. That is also problem of the data. So we don't have a data in case of remittance. The RBI actually provides statistics. Even the importance of the remittances could be seen on the basis of sample survey or actually carried out the respective organization or individual work or a scholar's work or maybe other agencies. So that is important, and we need to do more work on this to get the ideas or impact of the remittances, because India actually a large geographical areas, and we have a large number of population who have immigrated different parts of the world. That is important. Very actually, that is very relevant question. Now, second question in terms of like integration of these return migrant or these in the host societies. If you look the history of the migration, whether this is the migration towards these Gulf countries or other European countries or even the developed countries, USA, this is actually much more actually decide on the demand and supply of the labor and characteristics of the labor workers. If we go on to the history of the migrant workers who we have immigrated under the period of colonial system after the slavery was stopped, and many Indians actually went to the work, some of the plantation economies or maybe other forms of the agricultural activities in the countries like USA, Canada, and the numbers of obviously very small, and the demand were high that period of times. Now they are not looking this actually this kind of workers. They are looking on this only these skilled workers, those who have contributed lots of these whole societies. So that is also actually nature of characteristic of worker on demand and supplies of the workers. Actually, that is change over period of time, and it is also influenced by the immigration policies within the respective host societies and the origin countries. So that is important. Hopefully, sir, you are satisfied with my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And also thank you, Professor Gautam. And sir, we have some questions in the YouTube section. Yes, sir. Pratim is asking, immigrants are potentially in a more vulnerable position in the labor market due to the generally less stable employment conditions and lower seniority on the job, especially seasonal laborers who are associated with hospitality management fell into crisis, just like the rickshaw pullers. Some of them, yes.
Yeah, so I will move to one by one.
Yes,
so,
sir.
in case you are looking the immigrant, in the case of international migrant, and kind of actually occupational categories, we have talked about this management actually categories. So, uh, so that is important. They are vulnerable, but the high chances of getting actually wages is much more higher because they move from India to a place of destination. Obviously, they don't have actually limited access of the actually getting the citizenship, particularly in the case of Gulf countries. But somehow actually transfer of the remittances is much more higher. They are earning lots of money. So that is also actually become a very crucial portion of this kind of immigration policies has been adopted by the respective countries. That is also important. And another important aspect is that if we will look this trend of this Indian immigrants towards these Gulf countries, or if we look in specific to the Gulf countries, that over a period of time, this number of the Indian workers actually increased. Now we have 8 million. Earlier we have actually less than 8 million, 6 million, 7 million. So over a period of time, this absolute number of workers has been increased. And these are the workers actually like we have actually categories of this different kinds of categories we have in case of workers. So that is important. Yeah, good question. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Now, it's another part of this question. Some of them are trying to find an alternative job in their hometown now. Some of them opted for new startups. Do you think this pandemic will create a void in the labor market in the future? I mean, this shift has somehow inspired workers to be enterprising themselves. I mean, this
Actually, that is the actually initiative already taken by the government of India to make some startup or initiative by these actually different kinds of laborers. So it's depend actually, as I told you, that depend of the characteristic of the migrant worker, whether all the migrant workers or those who have returned are able to actually do on their own level or do certain activities or the approachable of these certain actually benefit. That is also important questions. Why this reverse migration actually suddenly has been seen after this number of cases has been reduced. So now actually they don't have actually any kind of actually opportunities at their place of origin wherever they have migrated from the remotest area or deprived areas or districts or villages. Actually, that is also important. How actually they are access or reachable of this kind of activities, that is important. So so it's depend of the actually kind of workers or labor, that is also important. So yes.
okay, sir. Thank you. And sir, on the context of the Gulf migration, it's your research area as well, and you have written, like I read some of the papers. And sir, you have talked about some, if I'm not wrong, Hundi system as a remittance system. I mean, the workers who are in the Gulf countries, especially the unskilled laborers or the semi-skilled professionals, they send back money to the India, mainly in the rural areas of India, and they have this money they send through a system of money brokers called the Hawaiilat or Hundi. I can't exactly recall the name. So, can you like enlighten
Yes,
more
yes.
on that topic?
Yeah, some informal channel actually they were using for transfer of these remittances, that hawala,
Okay.
and that some actually also this kind of hawala or informal transfer also
Yes,
has
yes,
been not
Hawala. Yes.
also has been actually seen that misuse of this kind of remittances of certain actually to propagates of certain ideology or this things in the country of like India. But it's a researchable question how they are these remittances are using and why they are people are not using the formal transfer of remittances. That is important. So that is a good question actually. This is true.
Yes, sir. And sir, is there any kind of this kind of middleman broker system in the internal migration as well in the context of India?
Middleman broker system actually exists. It is not actually visible, but I have noticed in
Yes.
the case of the migrant rich pullers, title rich pullers. I
Okay.
went through this actually local administration. I did not get the data of this title rich puller in case of Delhi. I did RTI. Even I
Oh,
do the information through the RTI. I directly went to this actually Information Commission of India. So three times I wrote the letter of the different actually commissioners to find out this actually secondary information. They have actually implemented the bylaws of the circular. But how this bylaws is implemented, how this migrant are getting beneficial, that is also crucial question. But I have seen and noticed that very few of the migrant worker are actually accessible of this kind of policies. Why?
okay.
Because many of them are actually not actually know this thing, are not aware about these policies. That is also important. Even the preference, this policy is not only the basis of this migrant, even in general also. So migrant also have given the preferences. So that is also important. Even uh, uh, so it's depend. Totally depend how actually the policies have been implemented, how this policy has been evaluated. Even this, I have actually seen some of this actually this because many of the rickshaw are taking this their rickshaw as a rent basis, and they are
Okay.
actually holding 3, 4 rickshaw, even 50 rickshaw or 70 rickshaw, cycle rickshaw.
Wow.
But they are not entitled as per the policies because no one except if, unless or until any widow or any kind of actually disadvantaged group or maybe Divyang group are not entitled to get the more than 3 rickshaws, but they are holding many rickshaws. So this is the story actually which I find out with the narratives of these actually migrant workers, the help of this survey. And not only the survey, even I use the mixed method approach, qualitative versus quantitative, and methods to identify to see the impact or vulnerability of this kind of workers. So informal and this actually mediator system delay, but it is not visible in terms of like national level or others. Even similar kind of problem you would see in the case of street vendors. Many
Yes.
of many of the people who are directly and indirectly engaging the street vendor occupation, like vegetable sellers, and so they are actually paying some bribe to this local administration or this police wala or this. So that is not actually reported the cases of the different administrative setting. So it's depend because they don't have actually any administrative support, any manpower, or any political connection. So it's depend of the kind of workers. If you talk about the skilled workers, they if nobody can touch. But in case of
Yeah.
unskilled worker or vulnerable group, easily they become a target by the different level.
Yeah.
So it's actually that is why I talk about this characteristics of the workers or labor. So that is
Yes.
important.
And because of the middleman system, I mean, it's actually undocumented and it's kind of in that context, it's illegal to say. So
Yes,
many,
yes.
yes, so many workers must have, I mean, lost fortunes and lost a lot because of this system. I mean, in international migration as well.
International migration actually employers actually somehow they exploited this their workers because of cut of wages. So, but now actually, recently the initiative taken by this actually Ministry of External Affairs to actually curtail this kind of problem. Even in the case of international migrant, especially these low skilled or semi skilled migrants, and they are not actually easily transferable, transfer their job from one industry to another industry. So recently, so many changes has been actually seen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So we
Yeah,
have one more question in the YouTube section. I'll show that.
yeah, sure.
Tulika Banik, uncertainty of lockdown snatches comfort and life of so many workers as it was not for all classed people. So can you say that somewhere our government is still ignoring the worker class as it is nothing but a well-known practice? And she's talking about the class issues.
Class issues actually, it's actually as that is also visible in case of like targeting of these kind of workers. So a different class actually because of this COVID-19 pandemic, so kind of actually vulnerability is much more seen in the case of like unskilled or semi-skilled workers. But in case of those who are the skilled or those who are actually highly privileged or doing jobs or using the technologies or using this mobile phone or advancement of the technologies. Easily they are doing, and so they are actually not very much impacted of this COVID-19. But we cannot. They are impacted, but not very severely impacted. But in case of unskilled or semi-skilled or vulnerable groups of the migrant workers, their education, their children education, because many of them hardly enough to earn to purchase of this advancement of the mobile technologies and getting education of their children, online education. And so that is also become a question of digital actually uh, divide, which cannot be ignored in case of the migrant workers. So, so, so now, uh, so now we can understand the how this impacted of the various kind of workers, and not actually evenly impacted of this work kind of workers. Even if you look the case of the refugees, in the case of undocumented or illegal migrant, so hardly they have actually accessible of these technologies or because their earning daily earning or monthly income almost has been come down, or maybe due to the close of industry or close of actually where they are getting the support. So that is impacted lots.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
And sir, before we don't have any more questions, so before
Yeah.
wrapping up this lecture, I just wanted to know either this personal query. So Professor Gautam is an expert on Santal migration and Adivasi migration. So, sir, and you're like you spoke on COVID-19 and migration. So, like, what is the like combining both this areas? So like I personally want to know what is the like impact of this COVID-19 pandemic on the Santal migration in the current context, or how they are coping up with the Adivasis are coping up with everything, because there was short of rations and everything. So what exactly is happening especially in eastern part of India?
I think your question is very important. Unfortunately, I do not have the statistics of the Santhal Pargana or even Bengal area or Odisha area, what has been the impact of COVID-19 upon the Adivasis. There is one thing which is known to me, which I have heard a lot, that they are using their local sort of herbs which are grown there, and that is helping them. But the fatalities are less, unlike United States, where you see the marginalized people, whether the blacks or Asians, they are dying more compared to the white people. So I think this is a question, I think you have raised nicely, but one has to find out, and perhaps your friends or students might do some research in this aspect, because
So,
Adivasi is a big community in whole India, but nothing has
yes, yes.
been done.
Uh, yeah, that is very informative actually statement passed by this Professor Gautam. I would also like to add one more thing,
Yes, sir.
because majority of the Adivasi actually living in the remotest areas, and the transfer of the disease, especially the rural areas, uh, actually moved actually very late or hardly moved of the certain areas which are predominantly dominated by these tribal groups. So that is also important. So
Yes, I mean they have
yeah,
like always been like lack of resources and everything have always been there.
I would like to add one thing.
Yes,
Uh,
Professor.
when we talk about the indentured this plantation community where the indentured laborers went from India, especially Mauritius and Guyana.
Yeah.
If I give you an example, you'll be surprised. From 1834 to 1916 or 1900, many Adivasis from our area, the Chotanagpur, Bengal, Odisha, went to Mauritius. Unfortunately, nothing is known about them, but the latest statistics did say that about 24,000 Adivasis are still living in
Wow.
Mauritius. How they are living, have they changed their cultural norms? I mean, no researches have been done. I think this is another field that we should do it, because many people, if you look at the ship registers, they were from
Right.
Bengal, Odisha, etc., etc. But it would be nice to find out locally how they have enhanced their culture, or they have completely forgotten and integrated within the host society.
That's true.
Yes.
Hello, uh,
Yes,
sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
You may ask, yeah, please. I'm happy to
Yes,
interact with these actually participants because there is so many actually efforts you people have made to conduct of this
thank
kind
you,
of
Professor.
uh, to create this kind of academic atmosphere that is important. And now it's a time of interdisciplinarity because any single discipline cannot answer and to 100% of the social realities. So interdisciplinarity is itself a very important.
Yes, sir. That's what we're aiming to do as well. To bring, I mean, to so that new ideas can be formed and we can
Yes,
discuss and research more newer perspectives.
yes,
And thank you, Dr. Naresh Kumar, for this amazing evening. I mean, we got to know a lot about COVID-19 migrations and migration in general. Migration studies is a vast field. It has so many aspects. So, like, at time we need to know about the basics as well. And like you wonderfully covered about COVID-19 and by migration. And we don't have any more questions, but as it will be uploaded on YouTube, so if participants have any questions, they can contact us. We can convey your
by
questions to Professor Kumar and also
yes.
to Professor Gautam, and all you can also mail them as well. And thank you, everyone. I would now like to request Jemima to deliver the vote of thanks officially. Jemima, over to you.
Just
Thank you.
yeah,
Aditi.
thank you, Artrika and Jamina for giving me chance to actually to deliver my talk on this platform. And I'm
We are very honored to have you here.
the initiative taken by your all the members of this Calcutta Comparatists 1919 are very appreciable actually. And
Thank you,
thank you
sir.
all of you.
Thank you, sir. Now, on the behalf of Calcutta Comparatists 1919 and its member, I would like to convey our hearty thanks to Dr. Naresh Kumar for this excellent discussion, and a big thank you to Professor Mohan Kant Gautam for being present here during the entire lecture. And thank you, Dr. Kumar and Dr. Gautam, for sharing your views and ideas on this topic. We are really inspired by your ideas. And thank you to our audience on YouTube for being with us today. Here we officially conclude this session. Stay tuned for upcoming events on our channel. Thank you so much, and good night to everyone.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
Then
Good night, Dr. Kumar.
and thank you, Professor Rotam, sir, for joining this event. Actually, I learned lots of ideas from Professor Rotam, and Professor Rotam actually always supported me wherever I felt any kind of academic problem. Or Professor Rotam actually one of the ideal person in my life who have supported lots to actually to make of this center more academic engagement and the our designing of syllabus. I'll always prefer to keep in touch and taking ideas of Professor Rotam. And thank you, Professor Rotam, sir, for joining this event. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Gautam. Thanks to everyone and good night,
I would,
everyone.
I would like
Yes,
to say one thing. If
yes, sir. Please.
we, the academic people, which I have in my own way, develop a certain rules. First of rules should be, whosoever lives in India or outside India is a person having a soul and have a life. We must respect that person without any discrimination, without anything. Second thing, we should talk to him and give love and affection so that he can feel that this person is also belong to him in ideas. And thirdly, which I would like to say, don't dictate him. If he wants anything, listen to him, and then if he wants still solution from you, then you can give a few alternatives, but don't decide yourself. Let him decide. If we do that, then we become good friends, and that is a authentic way of becoming friendship or developing a rapport. This I would like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Made our
Thank-
days. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Jamina. And thank you, Arthika. Thank you.
Thank you,
Keep
sir.
in touch.
In the live broadcast now.
Yeah. Thank you.